Okay, so I just got an idea that I wanted to share with everybody real quick. I kind of think it's a good idea because when I first started growing, it was hard to find really accurate advice on problems that you could potentially be having or are having in your veg, bloom, it doesn't matter what it is. And I still come across them to this day. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes I forget to do things, or sometimes, I have to work overtime. And in this case, that's what I had to do. I had to work overtime. So I kind of pushed my limit here. So kind of set this back. So what I decided to do, and you guys can let me know if this is a good idea, is as I come across problems, and I don't come across too many often anymore, but as I do, I can document them and make a playlist and label it, problems, or deficiencies, or just symptoms, that can be easily identified by somebody that has a little bit of experience growing. So in this case, this plant right here, Sour D, this is underwatering. This is what an underwater plant looks like. Okay, put it back in the light here. You can see the cocoa is dead bone dry. So what I'm going to do is, because this plant is fine, it'll be just fine if I wanted it to be just fine. But what I'm going to do is, I plan on throwing this away anyway. But like I said, I always keep one around just in case something goes wrong, or there's like an entire failure somewhere. I always have my original or backup strains, so put it. But this strain is going dry. You can see the leaves here, all droopy. You put your hand here, it's really dry. I mean, bone dry. It's, this plant's got like no life to it. So anyway, it's drying out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to water it. Maybe a better view down here. Okay, I'm going to water this, and then in 15 minutes it'll be white and fluffy again, just like you see back here, I promise you. But then I'll show you other symptoms as I do catch them. I will note them and apply them to the playlist that I create inside of my channel. And if you guys have any questions on symptoms, just give me a holler. Peace. Alright, here we are back. I don't know, roughly about, I don't know, half hour or so later. But you can see now that the Sour D is good again. And that's about it. Yeah, there she is again, perky. You got some of these top leaves. Keep climbing up here into the, the warm temperatures of the fluorescent bulbs. So, and on top of that, she was just underwatered for, well, she went dry for a day or so, almost a day. I have to water these every day. But the thing is, I don't water them so heavily that they pour out the bottom and create other problems for me, because overwatering does create other problems that you don't want to deal with. Overwatering will make you think that you have nutrient deficiencies all on itself. So if you got problems that are happening and you're looking at it, you're like, wow, it's got to be a micronutrient deficiency. It's got to be a calcium deficiency, or zinc, a boron, a magnesium deficiency. It's got to be one of those deficiencies, because my overfeeding, pH. Some people think it's just deficiency. And in the end, it's overwatering. Fucks a lot of shit up. It can throw a lot of things off. So do not overwater. It's best to water every single day in smaller amounts than it is to water heavily that lasts all week, because what that does in the end is just create a bunch of problems for your roots. It puts your roots in a poor root zone, and in the end you're gonna end up suffering. Your plants are gonna suffering. Your yield is gonna suffer because it's overwatering. It's the most common problems. The three top problems are too much light, believe it or not, too fucking much light, too much water, and too much nutrients. Those are the three top problems. So as I come across my overlooked, or sometimes I just, my deficiency, sometimes I just, I got too much going on in my life and I can't tend to these things fucking all day long. That's not what I do for a living. I work. So as I come across deficiencies that just partly due to just my straight up neglect, I will post them to this playlist of, you know, problems. Or if anybody else has a problem within the videos that I post, or questions within the videos that I post, just go ahead and post them up there and I'll answer all your guys' questions. Too much water can also be a first sign of the lower leaves of the plant will droop. And root zone, that happens with root zone too sometimes. Well, that's kind of like a give. If you're too much water, you got a bad root zone. What happens is the roots become moldy. They become you know, it's just very bad conditions. You know, the roots aren't swampland. These plants aren't, these, you know, the natural environment of these plants isn't in the swamps, you know. So don't overwater them. You can leave them water them just enough so they look good. You water them every day. Water them 2 or 3 times a day, very small amounts. You can water them once a day like I do. And usually it's about 150 milliliters for one of these solo cups. But again, I grow in straight cocoa. Straight cocoa can hold, I don't know how, it's a tremendous amount of more water than soil. So depending on what kind of soil, if you got a sphagnum peat moss based soil or a cocoa based soil, cocoa based soil is going to hold more. Sphagnum peat moss based soil, it's going to hold less. But in the end, it might be more easier for beginning growers to opt out of the cocoa, you know, trend. A lot of people go cocoa. Yeah, once you go cocoa, you'll never go back. Once you go, you'll never go back to anything else. But I don't think cocoa is for the straight up beginner, unless you know a lot about, you know, details and, you know, specific signs and deficiencies and stuff like that, or problems. You got to see them before they happen. Remember, today's problem was actually last week's problem, but in this case, today's problem was yesterday's problem, because I didn't fucking water that thing. You know, I waited too long. And anyway, that's what's going on here. I'm gonna let you guys go before I fucking run this video to the ground. But all right, today's topic: underwatering.